Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Dr. Movie Road Warrior Reviews with Rick in his car, driving down the road, telling you about some movies. So in this one, we're kind of going back, when I kind of first re-kicked this show back off, I kind of covered a movie I always really liked, which is Waxwork, right? It's that sweet spot in the 80s where your horror movies had a dash of humor in them, but still, tried to scare you. This is the follow-up to that. This is Waxwork 2, Lost in Time. Another fun flick. It came out in 1992, and like we just said, it's a horror/comedy. So this one even more so than the first. This one's even goofier, if that's the right word. But it's a whole lot of fun. Now, let's see, we got a synopsis here. Yep. So, it says, lovers flee through centuries on a time trip of terror in a showdown with a demon lord. Right. This one really just, what I like about this is it really picks up right from the end of the first one and continues on. Yeah, I like when movies do that. I always had a soft spot for Halloween 2 because of the way they tied it into kind of being the same night. The original Halloween 2, by the way. And this one's kind of the same, right? Because you got the ending of the original movie, and it's not the same day. Well, of course, the ending of the first movie is, obviously. But it kind of ties into a scenario where they're having to explain all these deaths and everything that has happened, and they're trying, and they go to court, right? The two main characters of the original, actually it's the girl, right, who's having to explain the deaths. And they're talking about needing some sort of evidence to prove that this outlandish story that she's telling is true. So they basically come up with a plan of going back into this vortex or whatever. I know I'm going to get the terminology wrong because I just watched it for the first time again in 20 years. Probably longer than that. And so they go back in time and try to find a source of evidence to bring out with them. They kind of get separated as they go. And the comedy ensues, right? And what I like about this one, what made it fun for me is, because the original movie was tapping into your classic horror flicks, Frankenstein, your Dracula stuff, all that was going on in the original. And this one is tapping into more, for lack of a better term, modern horror, right? Because we've got a Alien ripoff in this. We've got House on Haunted Hill, or The Haunting, going on. That's kind of what makes it fun, right? Because you're tying it into more modern classics. And let's talk about this cast, because there's one you have to bring up, right? I think it's amazing when you look up the cast in this movie, and even though you got these main characters, there's somebody that's got head billing, right? Well, it's Bruce Campbell, y'all. We got Bruce Campbell in this movie, who is 100% full tilt boogie, crazy Bruce Campbell in this movie. And he's in the Haunting story. And he's pretty great. He's pretty great in this one, right? We do have Zach Galligan. Skipper! We do have him returning to play his role that he played in the original. We have a different lead actress, though. They changed it up on us. But, again, does that really matter, right? There's some familiar faces in here. You've got Alexander Goodenough in there, who is always a baddie, right? No matter what he's in. Martin Kemp. I mean, you know, a lot of these faces you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I know him from this movie. This. You got Patrick McNee. Even though Patrick McNee's character is dead at the beginning of this, he shows up on a video screen and still kind of giving them advice from beyond, right? You got David Carradine in this. So you know you're getting high quality when David Carradine shows up, right? Well, matters what decade. This is the 90s. I think he's a little more dried out at this point. And so he makes a little cameo in this, which is always great. Drew Barrymore has a cameo in this. Now, this is 1991, so this is the drought of Drew Barrymore, right? She's really not in anything making any kind of impact at this point. She's always kind of a side character in this time and point in her career, right? Luckily, she pulls herself up from the ashes and becomes the Drew Barrymore we all know and love. That doesn't seem to go away, right? She's kind of here forever for us, and I'm okay with that. But she has a small part in this, and if you blink, you'll miss her, right? But she is in this, right? Actually, I'll tell you where she is. You probably already know. You've already seen this movie. But she's in a scene where there's this cool part where our main character and the main bad guy are basically having a duel, and they're going through the portal just from back to back, and they're going through all these different movie scenarios in a quick fashion. They'll be in each one for 10, 20 seconds. They're sword fighting and they're running through. It'll be a Godzilla movie, or it'll be Nosferatu. So it's a lot of fun. And during the Nosferatu one, she's one of the girls that's, being frightened by Nosferatu or about to be killed. Is there anybody else worth bringing up here? There's a lot of people in this movie. You got Michael DeBar in this, which, shows up in quite a few things in this time period. I think that's probably enough to talk about, but in all honesty, this is a fun flick. I really enjoyed revisiting it. It is goofy as it can be, but that's what makes it great. I mean, like I said, the whole scene with Bruce Campbell is fantastic, because they basically had him strapped down, and animals are eating his flesh. His whole chest cavity is just it's just ribs, right? So all of his chest is exposed, all of his innards, and they've got him chained up almost like a crucifix. And they go to set him free, and they cut the rope, and when it does, it makes the whole thing fall down, and he falls on this, cobblestone floor. And, obviously he just starts screaming out in pain because he landed on his chest. And and they pull him back up, and they're picking like little pieces of gravel and stuff out from in between the ribs and stuff. And there's another scene where, is it salt? I think it's a bag of salt that they throw like during the middle of the battle, and the salt busts open and hits him in the chest and lands on his ribs, and he starts screaming. And our main character picks up a bucket thinking that it's water and throws it on him, but it ends up being vinegar instead. And it's just Bruce Campbell wackiness, right? It's a lot of fun. Needless to say, they go through this entire movie they get lost, and they're trying to find each other again. And the thing about the idea of this movie is you can get so consumed in what's going on that you forget who you really are, and you become really part of that story, right? And that's been the whole thing, even with Waxwork, the original, is getting you trapped in there, and you become that character forever. And so that's kind of the whole concept again. And Zach's character is always finding our lead lady and saying, don't forget, I'm Mark, we got to get out of here. Let's leave. And so you always got that kind of conflict going on too. Makes it a lot of fun. And they end up trying to find the evidence to come back and clear her name. And do they do it? I don't know. That's for you to find out. So it's on Tubi for free. I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you like the first one and you haven't seen the second one. Take the time, check it out. I know most people bought the DVD set that's got both of them together. Great idea. And but anyways, if you haven't seen either of these movies, you need to check them out. If you're a horror fan of any kind and you like Evil Dead 2, that kind of reanimator stuff that's got the gross stuff, but also a lot of fun to watch. Got some comedy in it. This one's just as good. I mean, on certain levels, right? I'm not in no way saying Waxwork 2 is as good as Evil Dead 2, but it has that same zaniness, and you're going to chuckle at things just like you do at Evil Dead 2. So, with that being said, I'm going to give this I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun revisit. I'm kind of ashamed that I've taken this long to even revisit it. So I plan on checking this one out a bit more from now on, because I really had a blast watching it. And I think you should too. So there you go, folks. That is it for Waxwork 2. If you have any comments, pro or con, for this one, feel free to share them. Everybody's right? There is no wrong opinion. Everybody has their own opinion. So, hey, if you have recommendations for some shows that you want me to do or some movies to cover, just let me know in whatever format that you have checked this show out, right? So, yeah, give me a shout, and I'll shout it back to you. All right, folks, that's it for this one. We will check you later.